Good evening. Welcome to a Hand Up Recovery Homes program tonight on the nonprofit station where we talk about recovering from alcoholism, substance abuse, reentry into the community from the penal justice system, and we also talk about how to prevent and reduce the violence, gun violence in particular, but we try to help with all violence because we know that there's a proliferation of domestic violence throughout our community that goes undiscussed, especially the crimes against black women, which has become a theme lately, but we know it's happened throughout the history of America. Now, today we have two wonderful guests with us. We have one who I like to use that big word Denzel used a week ago that's going all over the internet. She's a thespian. That means she's an actress by trade, but she's also started to produce various productions, film, and this one is a particular theater production that she's associate producer on. And then we have the executive director and the creator of the organization called Mud Theater, Mr. Wendell Robinson. And here we have, Brooke, Bennett. I got excited. Two wonderful guests. But Brooke Bennett, some of you all may look and say she looked familiar. Well, I found out she's done shows here on KNTV, but she also has done major productions throughout the Chicagoland area and other theaters and film productions throughout the country. So she is really great at her trade, but she also is helping other aspiring theater people and folks that we'll probably see eventually put film productions together, and Mr. Wendell Robinson is that guy. Now, we're going to start with Brooke and let her tell you a little bit about her and how she met Wendell, since I've known Brooke a number of years because she's active in the community trying to help people throughout the Chicagoland area. And she's going to tell us how she met Wendell and how they began to work on this major production he was working on. And then he's going to give you his story. So I'm going to relax and I'm going to listen with the viewing audience.
Well, hello, everyone. Just to back it up a little bit, Wendell Robinson is the executive director of Restorative Justice. Mud Theater is the group that was commissioned to do the performance. So we'll get into the nitty gritty a little bit, but I was introduced to Wendell a few months ago. We were actually at a screening for a system impacted woman who got out of prison after how many years? 25
30.
years? 30 years. And she directed a film about her life, and it was an amazing film. And so we met there, and we sat next to each other, got to know each other, and he told me about his background with his organization. And though I am an actor, I do have a nonprofit as well that I co-founded that focuses on the reentry process, getting them housing and skill trade training. So we definitely, we kind of bonded over that. A couple of weeks later, he got this thought that I could help him with a play. He didn't even know I was an acting coach.
Oh, wow.
I am an acting coach. I have a studio about a mile and a half from here. My clients are from the age of like 4 to 84. They come in my studio to tape themselves for their auditions, but I also coach as well for their auditions. So it was just like perfect that he asked me to do something like this because I have always envisioned myself merging my art, acting and trying to see how that would fit into the reentry, because we were thinking of my nonprofit is Piece of the Peace Project. So we were thinking of having a skilled trade where they could learn acting as well.
That came
so it was definitely
well.
It was definitely in mind. So when he came to me about doing this, I just thought it was like a match made in heaven, because I was like, I've been wanting to
They happen every
I didn't know.
often.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to go into the prison and teach acting. I didn't know how it would come together, but this was perfect because the actors in this project they're not formally trained actors. They train themselves in prison. They had never done a production outside of prison, and this was actually being done at Steppenwolf, which is a major theater here in Chicago. So I just told him like I said, he didn't know I was acting coach. So I was like, I could coach them. I could do the, I just like I'm on board. You know what I mean? I could do all these things to help. And it turned out, just wonderful. I facilitated the costuming, some marketing materials just to get, flyer, get the word out there, even though we didn't need to. Yeah, my really dear friend, I'm actually an investor in her business, and she has a clothing company called Dear Brown You, and I thought she would be great as the costume designer for this project. And we don't have photos, but if we could show, she did a great job with their costumes. They look great. So we sold out Steppenwolf. We didn't even need half of the marketing materials we had, but because it sold out. It sold out so quickly. So we were very honored of everyone that could come and check it out. And we're hoping to do it again somewhere else.
All right.
So,
I think Wendell has a little bit of something to say about this, so we might as well let him jump in.
I do have a little something to say.
Tell us the whole background, Wendell.
So, my name is Wendell Robinson. I'm executive director of Restorative Justice Foundation. I'm also someone who's system impacted. What does that mean? At 17, I was charged, I was convicted, I was sentenced to life and 35 years in prison. In 2012, the United States Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional to give children mandatory life sentence. And in 2018, a judge seen fit to give me some say second chance, but a first chance, right?
Right, yeah.
And I've been home now almost 7 years, but I came home and I had relationships with the organization that I now head while I was on the inside. In the inception of the organization, the founders and founding board members had the idea of coming to prisons and visiting people that they were advocating for. The North Star at that time was to abolish juvenile life without parole in this state. And that's something that we did a couple years ago, something that I'm really proud of, having that sentence to be able to do that in this state. But when I came to the organization, my predecessor, Joey Cates, had the idea of just teaching me everything that she knew about nonprofit. And then in that, I grew with the organization, and developed an apprenticeship program. And the apprenticeship program is Future Leaders Apprenticeship Program. And this is the program that the executive director of Mud Theater Group is a part of now. Particularly with this program, we like to bring people in and allow them to see this social justice space and see how it is that they can amplify their voices. But this is something like extremely unique because we've never brought an executive director into Restore Justice apprenticeship program. So Brian Beals, who's the executive director of Mud Theater Group, came with the project. And the project was Mud Theater Group. So we had an opportunity to commission Mud Theater Group to do an original piece for Restore Justice. And this original piece, by us being a policy organization, we felt that bringing arts and advocacy was something that can really speak to legislators or people who just don't understand, a lot of things about the laws, right? So art and advocacy. We right now about to embark on a 104th General Assembly, and a lot of the issues that's a part of this production are issues that we intend on addressing in the up and coming legislative session. We have the entire cast of this production is system impacted. I mean, you have people that's a part of Mud Theater Group that's still in our carceral system. You have people that's one person in particular is in an adult transition center, right? So he came out and did an amazing job last week, but at the end of having a major performance at Steppenwolf, had to go back into our carceral
So which
system.
one is he in? Crossroads in Lawndale, or one of the other ones up north or out south?
The other one, not Crossroads, it's another one.
Is the North Lawndale branch over there, right off Francisco?
Correct.
That's Polk Street, right in that general area.
That's the one that he's in. So we had the opportunity, like I said, to just create something original, something that we've never done at Restore Justice before. It's we have some major issues that we want to illustrate in a certain way, particularly like if it's juvenile life without parole, if it's retroactivity. A lot of times when we pass laws in the state of Illinois, they just prospective, right? I mean, just moving forward. And oftentimes, if we can identify that something is wrong today, it was wrong yesterday.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So how is it that we can pass laws and it just move forward? When you talk about
not retroactive
right.
and helping people that were prior,
right.
which right now I don't even know if all the people now that marijuana legalized with all them extreme sentences 20, 30 years ago have been released yet. And we're like 5-6 years into them getting billions in revenue. Right. And how much they really use the R3 funding that's supposed to be to help change that and help people get into the industry that are ex-offenders who, by law, they were incarcerated for being street brokers. Well, they the natural ones should be able to go into the dispensaries and things and work in that industry, but they're the ones who were locked out originally when they legalized medical marijuana, and many of them are locked out now that it's legal and it's recreational. And that's utterly ridiculous in a system like you just mentioned that has been having inequities from the very inception, unfortunately, of this country and of many of these laws. But thankfully you out and working on that.
And we I think one of the things that we kind of understand, right? It's like when you have recalls, right? If you have a recall, it doesn't just apply to cars that's bought from today forward, right?
Right.
Or it goes like whatever this recall is focused, whatever this.
Whenever it was produced.
Right.
Whether it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
or 10
and
years
everything
ago.
showed. Oh,
Right.
10 years, right.
They can do something about that. And I think now we just trying to educate folks about what's going on, what's been going on.
Right.
And try and make a difference. And if making a difference is just changing these narratives or just sharing these stories. Right. We find that sharing these stories are one of the bigger ways that we are able to change these narratives because people just don't know.
Well, I feel like, Brooke, that this was like heaven sent, divinely ordered, because it's coincidental. I would call Congressman Davis office for one of his major field operatives that also works with adults who are reentering society as well as a lot of youth. And I met him over 20 years ago when he was doing a New Directions youth project. And I was helping Isaac Lewis, who you may have heard of or met, that do the North Lawndale Community newspaper. Okay. So I was instrumental in starting that, and I was helping rebuild the West Side Branch NAACP. So as I was doing all of that, I met Willie then later on, about 8 years ago, he got super active with Congressman Davis and been like advocate on steroids for any and every cause he can, from youth to adults to incarceration to helping get the kids down to see their parents at Father's Day and Father's Day events and men farms. Willie is like just doing it. So I'm like, Willie, come on. And he said that Brooke had set up for him to get into you all's production that was sold out because they couldn't get a ticket. And then he was like, I was like, well, I've met Brooke at congressman events in the past, and she's always seemed to be active and such a very personable and kind person, considering she's an actress and been all over the world, So I'm like, wow, okay. I said, can you give me the number? He said, sure. You one of our main community advocates and organizers. Yeah, we can let you,
Well,
then I was calling Brooke, and she's like, yeah, I think I do remember you. But she was like, everyone's busy tonight, but we'll be sure to try to get there. Right, I called before the project. Right, yeah.
We were about to go up in a couple hours. I was like, we can't make it tonight.
Anybody not working on the show that can be dispatched to talk about it. But anyway.
No, it was definitely hands-on. Everyone from Restorative Justice and MUD, we all wanted to be there because it was... it's a one-night show. Let's talk more about the show.
Okay, please do.
So it's called Searching for Justice. Okay. It was a one-night performance at Steppenwolf.
Currently,
we are definitely working on.
That's right. Okay, we're not claiming it was just a one-night unique event, a one-time, but the world needs to know the message. Yes. So even broaden that message. But
so
go
we're
ahead.
definitely working on broadening that exposure of that. So hopefully our next stop will be Springfield.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Working on
figuring
that
that
next.
you all were going statewide.
Yeah.
It was kind of in my mind. I thought I heard that, and possibly even further beyond that to help across the country, which you all have a great relationship with Congressman Davis already formalized, developing, and he's done that. You know, the Second Chance Act that's being modeled in other countries as well as helping. It's a national act
Right.
that he got through in 2007 roundabout, and then also the treatment on demand that we did in the early 2000s, which still we don't have treatment on demand at every facility that's available, enough beds. And now we have the whole mental health thing happening now. So as you say, many of these disparities have existed for years,
Yeah.
and then we start to correct them, but sometimes we don't go back and try to fix the lives that have been destroyed, changed, and try to help bring them forward to a better space. And I'm glad you all are doing that with ex-offenders. But I want to ask the Restorative Justice Foundation. I know they were starting in North Lawndale, the whole Restorative Justice Project through Sinai Community Institute, North Lawndale Employment Network, various other things. And I think even Annetta Wilson at Sankofa was part of the initial planning of that and working with some of the guys throwing through the juvenile court system. Is yours strictly adults primarily, or is it both? Because I did hear you say you originally was sentenced as a teen.
Yeah. So restorative justice is a philosophy, right? It's a
Right.
practice. We are Restore Justice Foundation,
Okay.
and Restore Justice. We primarily focus on advocating for people who received extreme sentences when they were
Okay.
children.
All right.
And that's my connection to the organization. Being someone who was sentenced as a child to be condemned, basically I was disposed of, right?
All right.
So we focus on people who received extreme sentences as children, but of course they grow into adults, right? But we just kind of like understand that the way that our system treat children is just utterly wrong.
Okay.
Right? Because how can you take I have friends, my brothers, that was as young as 14 years old received life sentence, right?
Oh, mercy. Yeah, it was
And-
back then in the 80s, late 70s.
80s
It became
and early
prevalent.
90s,
Yeah, early 90s, right.
And people when you that young, like people grow out of certain behavior, and it's like we can understand it in certain ways, how we just talked about the recalls, right? We understand that sometimes children make bad choices. Sometimes children be in environments that that allow them to respond a certain way,
Which
And-
was a big theme
Right.
in the play.
Well,
right.
So we brought that to light, just
Okay.
showing like the perspectives of. So just go back to the play. There were.
please do.
There were 5. There were perspectives from 5 different characters
Okay.
that were involved in this legislation and having a discussion about should it be retroactive and what it means and how that affects different sectors of society. So we had a law professor, we had a journalist professor, we had a state representative, a woman who is complaining about her brother getting life and what can she do to help, and then you have a janitor whose daughter was murdered
Okay.
by a 16-year-old who he wants him to stay in prison because he killed his daughter.
Yeah,
So
the
you have all these
victim
different
advocates. The
you
victim
have all these different
advocates too,
perspectives
right.
about what it means for a bill to be retroactive and how it affects different people. So that was it was like an hour show, and they had this discussion, and then they have this part where there's like an internal battle where they have like an interlude of like a rap or a poem or something, and about how it's really affecting them internally. You know what I mean? So it was just a really beautiful performance, and we had some legislators there, some elected
Yes.
officials, because we want them to see, what. Instead of just going to them, pleading with them directly, see it from an artistic point of view. You know what I mean? And so I thought that was really beautiful. As an actor, I really appreciate
Sound
that
like it
part
was
of the
beautiful.
art, that you can influence people without begging or pleading or saying, please listen to me. But if you put them in front of a play or a movie or something, then they have their own way of internalizing it and seeing how it could, just like the Menendez story came out.
Right.
Next thing you know, they're in court reopening their case because of the Netflix show. You know what I mean? So these platforms have a way of swaying the courts and things, right?
Cases. That one helping the rich kids out of their drama or their devilishness. But anyway, I haven't seen it. I'm not trying to see it anytime soon. There are a lot of other ethnic stories, black, brown folks that I'd rather see their stories first.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've been wrongfully convicted with no resources.
Right. I don't even know if they're wrongfully convicted.
Destroyed their families, caused mothers and grandmothers to possibly go to an early grave because of the struggles and the significant grief that we're going to work on getting another guest and another project going, and we might even be able to merge at some point or use your creative abilities to help us develop a story on grief. However, I want to give you all the time. We're down to probably close to 4 minutes, 2 minutes each to talk about one, the Mud Theater project a little more, or give specifics on anything you can. Mud Theater, hashtag, or website, or Brooke, your organization, and then Wendell Robertson, your organization, Restorative Justice Foundation, and where they can reach you at the foundation and any other nonprofits you are a part of that you want to give some information on. So I'm going to turn it over to you first, Brooke, again, and then to Wendell.
Okay. He could definitely touch more about Mud Theater because I would just do that and do this project, which they are great. I mean, they also, not only do they act in this, but they also wrote this very heavily written, very long script for an hour play. It was very dialogue heavy. So,
that's great.
For them to be not formally trained, I was very impressed with their level of acting. And so for my coaching services, which they barely needed because, I mean, they were, they're so coming from personal, experience, and so it was a lot of passion, and so
they know the story.
I mean, I worked with them on the technical side, right? They know the script because they lived it, right? But just training them from a acting technical perspective was more of what I did, and they did so. They did so well. So I am Self-Tape Chicago Loop. I'm downtown. We have workshops for acting. So selftapechicagoloop.com is how you can reach me. I produce, so that's more of a, I get hired by people like this guy who's an executive. So that's a different service, but for acting, coaching, and things, you can come to my studio. And
your nonprofit, how's
my
the
nonprofit,
program?
peaceofthepeaceproject.com.
.org.
I'm sorry.
.org. Okay.
.org.
And Wendell?
So just to, really amplify something about Mud Theater Group, like, you have to understand, like, the entire group of individuals are home less than a year. Everyone that's a part of this is just about at a year of being home, right? So that's amazing in itself.
Definitely.
For them to take on this, for them to take on this challenge and then deliver the way that they deliver, right, is really amazing. It was amazing to me because we, felt that we wanted to speak to these issues, particularly like something that's at the heart of what it is that we do, how we have to approach legislators and they have to wrestle with what's doing what's right. And appeasing their constituents, right? So that was really illustrated in a real way with this production. So
I can feel it.
Yeah, but Restore Justice, restorejustice.org, right? Okay. You can reach us at restorejustice.org. We have a really robust legislative agenda coming up in the 104th General Assembly. We have action teams. We have, all type of ways that you can get involved with what it is that we're doing. And my thing is, I just embrace what I consider as real growth. And real growth is just contingent on creating opportunities for other people. And me being system impacted, I want to create opportunities for our system impacted community. And this is just an example of one of the things that, I've done of many that we plan on doing at Restore Justice.
Well, speaking of that, as we wrap up, A Hand Up Recovery Homes would love to have you all back, either together or separately. I'm offering each month, because we'll be on about 9 more weeks, I believe, something like that, to get you on at least twice more.
Oh, thank you.
Either you, Brooke, to talk about some of the projects you involved in, and or you, Wendell, to talk about restorative justice, some of the project, and Mud Theater, or both of you all at separate times talking about Mud Theater, because I think y'all bring two unique perspectives. But also because it's so unique to me, and I want to see it launched.
Yes.
I've been part of legislation and policy with Congressman Davis for years. I'm part of working in the community 20 years in one of the worst heroin highways before it got all this recognition the last 7, 8 years.
Okay.
And the resources. And new people over there and us who've been there 20 years can hardly get a break, for the funding. But that's okay. It's helping people that's most important. And I want to see you all help more people, but also get the story out there and get people to any other productions you do across Chicagoland and Cook County.
Yeah.
So, but mostly we do Chicagoland area. We'll have to connect you with somebody in the other county areas to get out south or north.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% in with you guys.
Thank
Hope I'll be
you.
y'all next addition to your collaboration. And if not, I'm still gonna work with you because that's how I am. Good folk, good people, spirit
Collaboration's
filled.
very important.
I'm part of the team, and I already introduced you to the folk coming up next, the young people. So we're gonna work this, and we're gonna help, expand your vision
Yes.
and get you out in our community where we know you need it, and all them similar
Yes.
stories exist.
We look
So,
forward to it.
Thanks
we
for
thank
having
the
us.
viewing audience. This is
you.
Brooke Bennett, Wendell Robinson. Brooke Bennett, who does so many things throughout the community, and Wendell Robinson, Restorative Justice Foundation, Executive Director.
Correct.
Restore justice.
Okay. Restore Justice. Okay, all right. Restore Justice
Yes.
Foundation.
Restore Justice Foundation.
All right, and thank you all, our viewing audience. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure, as my inspirational Les Brown say.
Thank you.